All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Kansas State University online nutrition and health, along with the dietetics webinar. It is a pleasure to have you here tonight. I'm Jennifer Fort Miller, and I will be hosting the event. I am an admissions and enrollment coach for Kansas State University online, and we will be starting this webinar now. So we thank you for joining us tonight, and if we can move on to the next slide, we'll introduce all of the people that will be involved with this particular webinar. With us tonight, we have Heidi Oberreiter. She will be presenting the bulk of the information. She is the director for the didactic program in dietetics, often known as the DPD. And so she will be giving an overview of the dietetics program for you. We also have Carla Gerard, and she will be answering questions and helping with information as well. She's a coordinator and an advisor for the online dietetics program. Jacob Fleming is also an advisor for the online dietetics program. And joining us as well would be Ashley Blake, and she's an advisor for the nutrition and health program, online program offered at Kansas State University. If you go on to the next slide, we'll be able to see kind of our plan for tonight. We have about a 30 to 45 minute presentation. Then we'll leave about 10 to 15 minutes for questions. And we do have a new webinar orientation to go through as well. Doing this webinar feature, I want you to look around in your webinar area. You will be able to see that there is a Q&A section, and that would be a place for you to ask all of your questions that you would have. You can place them in that Q&A area. If we're able to answer them quickly and with a short response, we will be able to answer those via typing back a response, but we may be answering most of those questions in the live format. So we're going to mark those that will answer it in a live format. It may show that I'm going to answer it live or Carla is going to answer it live. And we're just marking that to give us a list of questions that we'll ask Carla and Heidi at the very end. So if you see that we're going to answer it live, we will do that towards the end. But that's where you can put all your questions, and then we'll respond either live or we'll respond with a short answer. Another place down there at the bottom is the chat. We do want to get to know you real quickly, so we have a chat question for you. If you don't mind locating that chat area and typing in, where are you from? We're curious to know where the attendees are from, so please take a quick second or two and type in the chat where you're located so we can kind of get to know you. Other things that you'll notice on our webinar is that you can raise a hand. If you'd like to ask a question in person, you can raise a hand and we can acknowledge you and get that question answered as well. So we do have that as a place to go. Yeah, and thank you for putting the places in the chat. It's great to see where everybody is from. Another thing we're going to ask is, we got a quick poll here. We are curious about what degree you're planning to pursue. So we'll launch this poll, and if you can answer the question, are you interested in the bachelor's degree in nutrition and health or interested in the bachelor's degree in dietetics? We'd love to be able to kind of customize a little bit more too, and be able to help answer some questions as they come through. So we'll take a little bit of time for you to answer that poll here and get a good feel for the audience. And while you're doing that, as a reminder, this is being recorded. So we will be able to send you a link of this. If the information goes too fast or you want to review everything we've talked about, we will be sending a link out to you. It does take our staff and team about 7 to 10 days to get this in the format that we'll be able to link and send out to you. So be checking your email in about 7 to 10 days and you'll get that particular link. So looks like we have quite a few of the poll being answered, and looks like 100% are interested in the dietetics. We'll still talk a little bit about the nutrition and health as well, so that you have all the options presented for you. But I think at this time we will be able to start. So thank you for adding in the chat where you're from and information about the poll, which degree you're doing. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Heidi Oberreiter, the director of the DPD program at Kansas State University, and she can tell you a lot of information about the dietetics program. Heidi, take it away.
Thanks, Jennifer. And I'm so lucky to have Carla, Ashley, and Jacob with us tonight because we're really a team. I get to do the talking tonight, but we're a team and we'll work together to get all of your questions answered. And we're really excited about you being interested in K-State. And on this slide, you can see some pictures. And my guess is that all of you are here because you're passionate about food and you want to help people. That's what I hear the most from my students that are interested in dietetics. They'll say, why do you want to do dietetics? Well, because I love food and I want to help people. Okay, well, the interesting thing is we have multiple different degrees in the field of nutrition. And so that's really what the purpose is tonight, to talk about. Most of you are interested in dietetics, but also to let you know about the other nutrition degrees so that you're well informed and you know you're making the right choice for you. So let me show you a slide that tells you about the degrees that we have here. And it kind of shows you where we're housed within the whole university. So at the very top of the slide, you see K-State University, and then you see the College of Health and Human Sciences, and then you see the Department of Food, Nutrition, Dietetics, and Health. So we're the department that has all the faculty that offer the classes for our degree programs. And we've partnered with K-State Global Campus to bring these programs to you in the online format. And the 4 programs that we offer in the online format you see here, there's 3 that we offer in the online format. There's the BS in Human Nutrition, which we call Nutrition and Health. We have the BS in Dietetics. We have the Masters in Nutrition, Dietetics, and Sensory Sciences. And then we do have a PhD in Nutrition and Dietetics and Health. That is not in the online format. So really it's these 3 that are on the far left. Those are our online degree programs focused on nutrition. So now, because of the poll, we saw that you guys are interested, most of you are interested in dietetics, and that's great because, of course, I'm biased. That's the program I lead. But I do like to have people stop and think, you know, what is the right program for me? So here's the 2 that will lead you to earning your RDN credential. And RDN stands for Registered Dietitian Nutritionist. So if you're wanting to earn that medical credential of being an RDN or a dietitian, you can choose to earn a BS in Dietetics, or you can choose to earn a Master's in Nutrition, Dietetics, and Sensory Science. Both are offered online. And then with the master's degree, you can add on the DPD courses, because the DPD courses are what prepare you for the next step in the process to earn that credential. So this is a great time to stop and say, well, what's the difference between a nutritionist and a dietitian? This quote says it all. All dietitians are nutritionists, but not all nutritionists are dietitians. So you can think of it as dietitians being a subset, or really a specialty set of nutritionists. So no matter which of the 3 online degrees you get in nutrition from K-State, no matter which one you get, you can call yourself a nutritionist because you've earned a nutrition degree from a accredited regional university. But only 2 of them are a step that are accredited for that pathway to earning that RDN credential. And we're going to talk about over a few slides about what that really means to be a dietitian. So on this slide, you can see that on the left is my column for nutritionist and the right is for dietitian. The word nutritionist really has no legal definition. So the title, some states will legally recognize the word nutritionist, but very few. Whereas the RDN credential is recognized nationally. So every state recognizes that credential. Nutritionists focus mostly on nutrition education. What's a healthy way to eat? Whereas a dietitian focuses on that nutrition education, but is also qualified to do what's called the nutrition care process, NCP, which involves 4 steps of assessing and diagnosing and intervening and monitoring, evaluating a patient. So it's doing that medical nutrition therapy that is what a dietitian does. So nutritionists focus mostly on healthy eating. Dietitians, on the other hand, we focus on healthy eating, but we also focus on disease states. So it is a medical credential that makes you credible for helping people if they're managing a disease state or trying to prevent one. But the other thing I want you to remember is that the RDN credential makes you eligible to receive health insurance reimbursement. So you can have your own private practice, you could work for a hospital, and your credential allows you to bill for, through health insurance, your services. Nutritionists can't do that. So we're going to go back to this slide that we had a few minutes ago, and you'll see that the BS in Human Nutrition, which has an emphasis in nutrition and health, you can call yourself a nutritionist. If you go for the BS in Dietetics or the master's degree plus the non-degree DPD, you can tack on the DPD classes. Both of those will lead you toward becoming an RDN, a registered dietitian nutritionist. So how do you really choose which is right for you? Now, again, I kind of feel like, well, lots of you said, yep, dietitian is what I want to do. Okay, that's great. So really what helps you choose which pathway is the work setting, what the daily responsibilities are like, but also you need to think about the academic requirements. So you see on this slide a variety of work settings. Both nutritionists and dietitians work in these settings. So if you just say, well, I want to work in a hospital, well, both of those people can work in a hospital. I want to work with sports teams. Well, both can work in those. So all these areas are open, but you have to remember that the RDN or the dietitian is the only one qualified to provide one-on-one disease management, or we call that medical nutrition therapy, and to receive health insurance reimbursement for our services. So although both of those types of people, nutritionists and dietitian, can work in these areas, the credential of RDN will allow you to have certain roles in those places. So again, I just have a slide that has some of the work settings. So you'll see that really the nutrition and health degree can lead you to health departments. You can work for food manufacturers, in research, pharmaceutical companies, anywhere they need somebody who is a nutritionist, who has an accredited 4-year degree in nutrition. You've got lots of places you could work. You also could go on to further credentials, whether that be an MPH or go on to nursing school or PA school. Whereas on the right, the BS in Dietetics leads to that RDN credential. And again, dietitians work in lots of different practice areas. It's getting more and more and more broad as we go. When I first became a dietitian, most of us worked in the hospital, maybe a health department, some of the federal food programs, but now, gosh, we're everywhere. We're in specialty areas, we're in sports nutrition, we're in corporate health. And now, we couldn't when I started, but now we can bill health insurance. So that's some about the work settings. But what about the academic requirements? So that's what this slide is talking about. I want you to notice the middle column is about the BS in Human Nutrition, and the column on the right is the BS in Dietetics. So the first row talks about the minimum GPA required to graduate. So to graduate with the BS in Human Nutrition, you need a 2.0 overall. For the Dietetics, it's a 3.0, a little bit stricter. For the sciences and professional courses, so not English, not algebra, but for the sciences, biology, all those kind of things, and your professional courses, your nutrition courses, for the BS in Human Nutrition, you can get a C or better. For Dietetics, you must have a B or better in those classes. But then these last 3 rows are really what makes the biggest difference. You'll notice that for the Human Nutrition degree, once you graduate, you go out there and get a job. For the person wanting to get that RDN credential, you've got a little more work to do. So you leave K-State with what we call a DPD verification statement, and then you have to go do a supervised practice program. That means clinicals, if you think about nursing. So it's hands-on practice being a dietitian. Those practice programs are about 1,000 hours long, and they have a cost to them. They average anywhere from $8,000 to $9,000 or $8,000 to $10,000. But do know that there's some that are free and there's some that are $50,000. So there's a wide range of cost for those that supervised practice program. And how long are those supervised practice programs? And by the way, we used to call them internships, and we actually still do, but really the word we use now is supervised practice program. And they can be anywhere from 6 to 10 months if it's just the internship. If it's going to include a master's degree, it's going to be longer, 18 to 24 months. And don't panic about that. There's programs all across the United States. There's over 270 to choose from right now. Some of them require you to relocate somewhere. Some of them allow you to stay exactly where you are. Even though the program is hosted somewhere else, you can stay where you are, and they will supervise you doing your hands-on clinical work right where you live. So let's get down to the brass tacks about how you earn that RDN credential. So you need to first have the Ascend accredited coursework. Ascend is the accrediting body for dietetics programs. So Ascend accredits the coursework, and that is housed in our BS in Dietetics. But if you're here getting a master's degree, you can add on and tack on that non-degree DPD courses. So that's the first step. The second step is that supervised practice program I talked about. The third step is, yes, there's a national credentialing exam that you must pass, and now you've become an RDN, or registered dietitian nutritionist. And I had little boxes, which I didn't click as I was talking, but there they were. So those are the 3 steps. Now, once you're done, excuse me 1 minute, I'm going to back up, make sure. Yep. Okay. So once you're done with your BS in Dietetics, if you get the human nutrition degree, you can be employed anywhere, or you can go on to graduate work. Whereas the BS in Dietetics, as I said, you need to do that supervised practice, or else we used to call them internships. There's one other option. When students that graduate with the BS in Dietetics are immediately eligible to take an exam called the NDTR, that stands for Nutrition and Dietetics Technician Registered. It is a dietetics credential, and we call them NDTRs. They can work on their own as a certified dietary manager type position, head up of a food service organization, or they may work in a clinical setting underneath with a dietitian supervising them. So there's some on your own roles for the NDTRs and some supervised roles. But you, with the BS in Dietetics, you're immediately eligible to take that NDTR exam. So if you get to the end of the BS in Dietetics and say, I can't do the internship, it's just not going to happen, there is a credential that you can get right after you graduate. So I want to bring up one point, because hopefully many of you have already heard about this. But as of 2024, things are changing a little bit as far as earning that RDN credential. So this row, this is what I just showed you a little bit ago. There's that bachelor's degree, the supervised practice, and the RD exam. But as of 2024, you now have to have a master's degree. Everything else stays the same. And on this slide, and I think you guys are sent a handout that has these links here, but there is some rationalization as to why, or the rationale behind why the accrediting body is changing that. But anyway, it's changing as of 2024. You must have a master's degree. Some of you, most of you now, if you're just starting, you're going to be in the group of people that are going to have that master's. So there are ways we can work with you to get all those steps. And I'm going to talk about that in just a few minutes. If you're a person that says, can I get in before the deadline so I don't have to get a master's, you would have to finish your internship by December 31st of 2023. So you would have to get all your Ascend accredited coursework done, apply and get into an internship, and finish that by December of 2023 in order to earn that RDN credential without a master's. As of January 1, 2024, gotta have that master's. So here's the pathways to earning that RDN with a master's degree, because most of you are probably going to be in that group of students. You could earn your BS in Dietetics from us, and then you're going to go apply to what I call an MSDI. That's a dietetic internship that includes a master's degree. Or you can, here at KState, do a concurrent program where you get both your bachelor's and your master's with KState. And then you go out and do just the dietetic internship part after you graduate. The third option is you get your BS in Dietetics with us. And then there are some new programs called FGs, Future Graduate Programs, or you may hear them called Future Education Model Programs. This is the new version of what dietetics education will look like about 10 years from now. But we're piloting these new programs. So those programs include a master's degree, but they also have that hands-on supervised practice programs. So lots of options for you to get through the process. Now, I don't want to forget the BS in Nutrition and Health, because that is perfect for people that are seeking a health career outside of dietetics. So maybe as you're moving along through the courses, you figure out, no, dietetics isn't for me. Now, what am I going to do? Well, the nice thing is the coursework for the BS in dietetics and the BS in human nutrition are very, very similar. And so it's easy to switch between those two programs. Depending on which way you switch, changes how many classes you need, but it's very easy to switch between that. So just know that as you move along in dietetics, if you find out that it's not the pathway for you, we have something for you in nutrition. Now, one of the things I often do with my prospective students when they're trying to decide if I need to do the dietetics with the internship and, oh my gosh, the academic requirements seem overwhelming, maybe I'll just do the nutritionist route. I suggest that you go out and try to find jobs. So on this slide, I've put some links to different search engines that are focused on nutrition, because go out there and look at what jobs are available. And then that tells you, you look into a job and it says must have the RDN, must have a allied health degree. So look at what the requirements are for the jobs that you're interested in, and that may help you decide which degree is best for you. Okay, now before we go into live Q&A, we're going to talk about the frequently asked questions that we always get. Okay, can you do the entire degree online? And the answer is yes, you can. As of fall of 21, all of the dietetics courses in the BS in dietetics are offered online. Also, the MS in nutrition, dietetics, and sensory science is online. So both those programs are completely online. The second question we get is, why is there an overall 3.0 GPA needed to graduate with a BS in dietetics, whereas the BS in human nutrition only needed a 2.0 overall? Well, here's why. If this graph on here shows the national internship match rate, meaning how many DPD graduates get matched with an internship, and it's running around, it's up to about 65% right now. The internship match rate for K-State ranges between 90 and 100%. The last 3 match cycles, it's been 100%. Our students do well when applying to supervised practice programs. And I think that's partially in part that we put in must have a 3.0 or higher GPA, because internships look at your GPA. Then there's this question. Is there a mid-curriculum, meaning you take some of the classes and then you got to stop and do this application in the middle? And you know what? Yeah, there is. So the BS in dietetics and the students that are earning that master's but tacking on the DPD courses must do this application process after they complete the sciences plus a couple of the nutrition courses. And in order to apply in that mid-curriculum cycle, you have to have that 3.0 overall GPA, and you must have gotten a B or better in the sciences and any of the nutrition courses you've taken with us. And again, that's setting yourself up for success in order to graduate, because you got to have that overall 3.0 to graduate in the BS in dietetics. There is a waiver available for the 3.0 overall GPA. We do look at it because there are some people that have come to us and their first degree was 15, 20 years ago, and they weren't interested in college back then. Now they are. Okay, so there are some waivers available, but we have a few more slides to talk about that in a minute. So this is segueing right into what I was talking about. So what if my GPA is low due to my previous bachelor's degree, or because I've already taken some college courses and didn't do very well? Well, this is what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to confirm that you will be able to raise your overall GPA, and overall means any kind of college courses you've ever taken, whether they've been in music or engineering or dietetics and nutrition. So you need to confirm that you'll be able to raise it to a 3.0 by the end of the dietetics program. And again, when you apply that midstream, we want to see progress to getting toward that. And those are the people that we give that waiver to. So how do you figure that out? Well, you can go to this link address, URL address you see at the top of the slide. And there's a place, and I'm not going to do this live, I've just got some screenshots to show you. But there's a place you can enter how many hours you've already taken, what your GPA was from those hours, and then you put in the desired GPA you want to have. So this person had 60 credit hours of college work done. They had a 2.5 GPA, and they need to get it up to a 3.0. And then you hit calculate. And this is what you're given. They tell you that you're going to need 30 credit hours at an A to raise your overall GPA to a 3, or 43 credit hours at an A minus, or 101 credit hours at a B plus. And just to give you some context, the entire BS in dietetics is 120 credit hours in total. And the DPD, I have completion option there, but that's that non-degree. These are just the DPD courses by themselves, is 77 credit hours. So it can kind of help you look at where am I at and how many credit hours do I have to raise my GPA up. So this is just another example to show you. So this person's bringing in 130 credit hours. This is a person who's finished a bachelor's degree before. They have a 2.4 and they want to raise it up to a 3. And again, they get the same answers, but this person's going to need 78 credit hours to get that up to of A to get it up to that 3.0. So this is all probably a lot of numbers and overwhelming. It's just keep it in the back of your mind, because we want you to know this ahead of time, because we don't want you to come in and not be able to get to the goal you want, which is to graduate with that BS in dietetics, since most of you said that was what your dream was. So these are the, hopefully this presentation at least gave you an idea of the difference between becoming a nutritionist and becoming a dietitian, and the steps it takes to get that RDN credential, and the requirements we have at K-State for that mid-curriculum application cycle and that 3.0 overall GPA to graduate, as well as getting B's or better in all the sciences and the professional courses. Okay, so I'm going to hand it back off to Jennifer, and she's going to take you the last few slides.
All right, thank you, Heidi, for the great presentation. If she has spurred any questions in your mind, please drop them in the Q&A, and we'd be happy to answer them here in a little bit. While you're doing that, just wanted to put up here the website for, or the email address for contacting us. We'll also drop that in the chat here in a little bit. So if you've got questions, you can email us as well at online@ksu.edu. If you want to go on to the next slide there, Heidi, I think it has a few things that are upcoming. So what's next? Are you ready to apply? If so, we do have information on what the next steps would be to apply to K-State. Wanted to let you know about priority deadlines for applying. If you're looking to start K-State in the summer of 2022, the priority deadline is April 1. And by priority deadline, we need to have your completed application, your application fee paid, and all of your official transcripts sent from all the previous institutions, and they have to arrive by April 1. And that would give you the priority deadline to have your application go through the application process, be admitted, and then start working with one of our advisors that we have here tonight, Jacob, Carla, or Ashley. So if you can hit those priority deadlines, if you want to start in the summer, it's April 1. If you want to start in the fall, that's going to be a June 1 priority deadline date. And if you want to start a year from now in spring, that's a November 1 priority deadline date. But we do have 3 application periods where you can enter into this program, any at 3 points throughout the year. Also, just wanted to let you know there are a couple upcoming webinars as well that you may be interested in. The one on March 24th is a transfer webinar. If you have questions about how your transfer credit would come in, anything related to being a transfer student, we'll be doing a webinar on March 24 at 8 o'clock. So we'd love to have you there too if you have any questions about transferring credits. And we also have another webinar next week at this time, 8 o'clock, and that is about the master's degree in nutrition, dietetics, and sensory science. So if that is of interest area to pursue that particular degree, join us next week at 8 o'clock. And to register for that one, you would click on our nutrition, dietetics, and sensory science website, and you'll be able to register for that different event. And as a reminder, this is being recorded, so we'll be able to send it out to you as well. Yes, all the webinars are at 8 p.m. Central Time, and if that time doesn't work for you, we'd be happy to send you that recording at a later bit. Okay, next slide, Heidi, and we'll see what else is coming up. I think at this point, we'll be about ready for questions. Again, these are all the participants tonight, so if you have any questions you want to email us later on after you thought about this, feel free to do that at online@ksu.edu. And I think I'll turn it over now have Carla jump in here and she can start going through some of the questions that we've had. And if you have any more, keep dropping them in the Q&A section. We'd be happy to help. All right, Carla.
Okay, the first one I accidentally marked done, and I didn't mean to. So we have someone who has a bachelor's degree in a field that is completely unrelated to nutrition and wants to know if the recommendation would be to get another bachelor's degree or get a master's to become a registered dietitian. So basically you have a couple of different options. You could get another bachelor's degree and then apply to dietetic internships that include a master's or to one of those future graduate model programs. Or you could apply to our online masters in nutrition, dietetics, and sensory sciences, and then add on those additional courses to earn that DPD verification statement. Students who do the masters and add on the DPD can overlap 12 credits. So 12 of the credits for the masters, well, actually 12 of the credits for the DPD you take for graduate credit, and then those get applied towards the 30 credits for the masters. So that does help reduce the total number of credit hours and classes to take. However, if you do an internship that has a master's, there's some overlap between those. I'm going to let Heidi chime in if she has any opinion about any of that.
Well, I guess my comment is this. You guys have lots of options. That's the good thing. And the bad thing is you have lots of options. So, on this kind of webinar, it's really hard because I'd love to just talk to each one of you and say, okay, well, this is what probably be best for you. The nice thing is we have a ton of support for our students here. When I talk with my students that go on and do internships, they call back and tell me how things are going. And the one thing they tell me is that when they're being an intern with students that have gone to a different school for the DPD portion, and they find out that at other DPD programs, they get no help. They graduate and the program says, go find an internship. We're going to help you. And because we want you, your success is our success. So we will help you find the option that's best for you, whether the FG program is better than an MSDI, or whether it's better to get the master's with us, or, what is the best route to go. And Carla and Jacob and the advisors are the first point of contact with that, because they look at your transfer work and can make some of those decisions. And then I get to do all the nitty gritty big ones that come in, but we're going to help you with that. So I don't really have anything to add to it other than if you've got really complex situation, reach out to us. We won't do a full, Carla, you'll probably want to fix what I say here, but we won't do a full look at your transcripts until you are applied, because we just can't. There's too many of you. But you can certainly look at what our classes look like in our degree and kind of make some guesses based on what you've taken before.
One other thing I wanted to add is if you are pursuing the master's and then adding on the DPD courses, those undergraduate DPD courses cannot be covered by financial aid. So that's definitely a consideration. And also, if you apply to a dietetic internship that includes a master's, typically you can apply for financial aid to cover that. So, there's a lot of different things to consider. And like Heidi said, there's really no easy blanket answer. Let's see.
Carla, can I answer the one about the PhD?
Sure.
Okay, so a person says that they have a PhD. So this is a interesting thing. I see that you say, because you want to apply to an ISP. I assume what you're referring to is there are programs called an ISPP, and it stands for Individualized Supervised Practice Program. Those programs are an internship, but they have very focused purpose. So there are some ISPP programs that are open to people who already have a PhD, and they're helping you get the supervised practice portion done. They may or may not include the DPD coursework. So really it would, that person would need to talk to that program and find out what prereqs you need to have in order to get into their ISPP. Other ISPP programs require you to have the DPD verification statement, which you're going to need from K-State, which you have to be degree seeking at K-State to get that. So you would either have to earn a bachelor's with us to get that DPD verification statement, or get a master's and to get that statement. We have not had anybody ask us if they can do the PhD and get the DPD verification statement. It's probably a possibility, but you already have a PhD, so I doubt you're going to want to go that route.
Okay. Another question was, for the supervised practice program, does it matter where it is completed because I am overseas? If you want to become a registered dietitian nutritionist credentialed in the US, you do have to do supervised practice through the US, although there are some international coordinated programs in dietetics. EatRightPro.org has information, has an accredited programs directory. I see an international coordinated program in Australia, Lebanon, Mexico, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. So no, not Saudi Arabia. So it kind of depends on where you are, but most of our international students either plan to come to the US to complete supervised practice, which can be a little tricky because of the visa status. You have to make sure you're applying for a dietetic internship through a university that would be able to issue you a student visa. Or they are just wanting to earn a degree in dietetics or nutrition because that's all that's needed to practice in their country.
Can I add a little to that, Carla?
Sure.
I did learn something interesting. We have lots of military, active military people earning our degree. We have military spouses earning our degree. And those spouses and active people might be overseas right now and deployed. So they're in that same boat. And I learned something interesting. If they are stationed overseas, the internship has to happen on US soil. And Puerto Rico, what is it, our two territories, Puerto Rico and something else. It's not coming to mind.
Guam, somebody.
Guam, yeah, anyway, so US soil, but an army or a military base in another country counts. So technically, if I had a military spouse living in Germany and they were able to find enough preceptors, and those are dietitians, they're going to lead them through the hands-on practice. If they're able to find those people on base, then that counts. And they can complete their internship hours in Germany because it's on US soil, because it's on a military base.
That would be through a distance internship program that would have to approve those facilities and preceptors. Okay. For an undergraduate seeking the BS MS degree, is there a cap at the number of students accepted each year? There's not a cap on the number of students admitted to the bachelor's degree at this point. There is discussion about capping the number of graduate students, but that has not been decided on for sure. But Heidi does have a certain number of students that can be in the DPD at any one time. I don't know if you want to talk about that, Heidi.
Sure, and that number is 115. And when I first started as director in 2016, we had 80 at that time. And our numbers change every semester because we have people graduating in May, December, and August. So every graduation, my number goes down, and then twice a year, we have applications to my program and my numbers go back up. So just most recently in the fall, when I accepted new students, we actually reached our 115. That's the first time we've gotten there. And then we had 27 people graduate in December, or 17. I can't remember, it has a 7 number. And then I had 50 people apply this spring. So it changes every cycle as to how many people I can apply. or how many I can accept. So I really just have to keep tracking how many are going to be coming and going and leaving, so that on December 1st, when I have to turn in numbers to my accrediting body, that we are at 115 or below.
Okay, someone has an associate's degree in culinary arts already, wonders if earning the BS in dietetics or nutrition would be best. It really depends on what you want to do. Do you want to become a registered dietitian, or do you want to be a nutritionist? You know, either one would be.
And just so you know, some of the, not many of the culinary classes transfer over. You know, a class in pastry and a class in, and I can't remember all the names of them. But a person who went through it, there are associate's degrees that are focused on earning that NDTR credential. A lot of those can transfer over because those were already Ascend accredited for dietetics. So there are some, I'm going to say, culinary classes that transfer if it's food service operation, quantity food production, management type things. But if it's a specific class on pastries or soups or things like that, those typically don't they'll transfer as electives, but they won't fill any other requirements.
And if someone does apply to our program and we don't have information about their coursework, as far as they have not been evaluated in the past by previous students transferring and submitting the syllabi, you will be asked to submit syllabi. We have a transfer equivalency website that maybe Jennifer, Ashley, or Jacob could put the link to in the chat, that you can go to and look to see if your classes are listed or not. And if they are not, you can upload syllabi before you are even admitted to K-State and get those evaluated so that you'll know ahead of time if those classes are equivalent to any K-State classes. Okay, since in 2024 it is going to be a requirement to have a master's, will one be able to skip the internship and sit for the exam? No.
That's where you have to be careful. You have to have completed, assuming you're a student who's going to earn your DPD verification statement from K-State, you would have to finish all those courses by December of 22. So I think you're kind of cutting it really short to do that. Because then you'd have all 2023 to finish your internship, and you could take the test without the master's.
We do have a few students who are going to graduate in May of 2023, and they are really, really, really hoping that they will get accepted into a 6-month internship that starts in June of 2023 and ends in December of 2023. But at this point, if you are not already pursuing your bachelor's degree, it is extremely unlikely that you could get the entire degree done in just a year. You would have to have all of your science classes completed, most or a good chunk of nutrition and dietetics courses that are equivalent to ours, and it would be a lot of work to try to finish in a year. And putting all of your eggs into 1 or 2 baskets, hoping that you could get one of those short internships, would be extremely difficult.
So probably for most of you, what you can think about is doing your DPD with us through the BS in Dietetics, and then plan on applying to a supervised practice program that includes a master's.
Right. But the requirement in 2024 to have a master's does not eliminate the need to do supervised practice.
Correct.
Okay. Is there a website that helps students compare the requirements, cost, relocation / remote locations, etc. of the internship program?
I'll take that one.
Okay.
So I'm not great at multitasking, but if I can pull up actually, one of my helpers out there, please just Google Ascend accredited program directory and put that URL in the chat box. Anyway, there's a directory. Great. There's a directory that you can go in there and look at programs. What you'll want to look at is the DPD is the program you're going to get at K-State. So you can choose DPD, and then you can filter by states and that kind of thing. Or you can choose internships. That's the supervised practice. So you can choose internships, look at your state and see what ones pop up. It's kind of interesting because Kansas, we have 1. Texas, gosh, there's like 10 or 15. So it depends on the state, how many supervised practices are there. Those ones typically want you to move to that location. Carla mentioned earlier a distance internship. Now, keep in mind that does not mean a distance internship where you can do it at 2 o'clock in the morning, because you don't want to move to a university, so you just want to do everything at night while you work full time during the day. That is not what a distance supervised practice program is. What a distance supervised practice program is the program is housed somewhere. Let's say it's the Iowa State University, and they're housed in Iowa, but it's a distance program. So you can be living in Dallas, Texas, and complete the Iowa State program. You find preceptors or dietitians in Dallas that lead you through your rotations, and it's Iowa State that oversees those people and tells them what you need to be doing in your rotations, and Iowa State takes care. There is homework and there is tests you take and so forth. So it's Iowa State that oversees that. So you can filter for all those things. Once you pick your program type, like dietetic internship, if you want to see the distance ones, don't pick a state, just leave it blank and let all the programs come up. And then in the gray box on the far right, you'll be able to filter, and there's a distance education box. You can check that box, and then you will see only the distance programs. And last I remember, I think there was 40, somewhere between 37 and 44-ish distance programs out there. Anyway, so I didn't answer the whole question. So that's where you can see all the programs. No, there is not one place where you can just say, oh, where's the cheap ones? That's not easy. That's the support we give you when you're here at K-State. And I teach the first class you'll take, which is Careers in Nutrition and Dietetics. And I put you through some homework of looking at internships, and I will teach you the ways to find all that. It takes a little bit of detective work on your part. But once you start realizing, like, well, I want an internship in this state, well, that's going to limit how many you have to choose from anyway. So then you can just go to each of those programs and go to their website and read the information about cost and those kind of things.
Okay, last question that's here right now. Do you have to complete the internship through K-State to graduate? No, K-State doesn't offer an internship program. We do have a coordinated program in dietetics, which combines the supervised practice with the degree, but that is not available online.
So K-State, what you're getting through us online is the DPD, that is Send Accredited Coursework. It's the knowledge part of becoming a dietitian. And then you, after you graduate with that DPD verification statement, you get a diploma from us, but you also get from me a verification statement. And that makes you eligible to apply to supervised practice programs. And that's the match rate that I'm talking about. And in this last 3 cycles, we've had 100% match. So people that applied to internships got selected for an internship spot. Any other
questions that are posted?
We had some great questions, everybody, and we certainly appreciate you being here. Give you another minute or so if you have something else that you'd like to type in. We'd love to be able to answer that question. But while you're doing that, I just wanted to thank Heidi for giving the presentation. Great information. Appreciate Jacob, Carla, and Ashley being on the call too, to be able to take care of questions, answer all of that, and do some of the background work as well. So really appreciate you coming out tonight, being a part of this. If you have more questions, feel free to email them at online@ksu.edu. We'd be happy to help you out. And we look forward to your application, more questions, more conversations, anything we can do to help you make your decision as you're headed to become a dietitian or a nutritionist. We're here to help. So there's nothing else, and it doesn't appear like there is anything else in the chat box or the question and answer box. We will let you go for the evening, but thank you again for everything. We sure appreciate you being here. Have a great rest of your evening and week. Bye-bye.